Lauren Epstein here. I'm excited about attending my first social recruiting strategies conference in the city of brotherly love, Philadelphia, this August 6th, 7th, and 8th. Over 3 days, you and I will be immersed in interactive learning experiences that'll teach us today's most effective recruiting strategies and techniques. The world's best recruiting experts are coming from CVS, Siemens, and AMC networks, amongst others. Don't miss out on the fun and learning. Register today at socialrecruitingstrategies.com. Here's the deal. My friends at Brazen have spent the last year writing the book on recruiting chatbots. It's jam-packed with tons of the best practices and examples of companies who are successfully using chatbots to hire the best talent. We're talking companies like Walgreens, USAA, and Presidio. And because you're a listener of my show, they want to send you a free copy of the book. Just head over to brazen.com/chatbots to get a free copy today. You can get a copy sent to your door for postage, or you can download the digital version right now. Don't wait, because the book is flying off the shelves. And as a bonus, if you sign up today, they'll send you their #1 downloaded ebook on winning the war for talent. Again, go to brazen.com/chatbots to get all this for free today. Hi, welcome back to another episode of The Lauren Epstein Show. I'm your host, Lauren Epstein. Today we have with us a special guest who you have seen and heard from at many recruiting events. Welcome, Craig Fisher.
Hi, Lauren. Thanks for having me here.
Craig guides the marketing and employment branding at Allegis Global Solution. His digital branding methods have been adopted as best practices by many companies, including LinkedIn, which is pretty cool.
Yep.
Craig has been listed as among HR and recruiting's top influencers and most engaging conference speakers. And I can say he is incredibly engaging when you hear him talk.
Thanks.
How's it going?
It's going really good. How are you?
I'm very well. So I don't usually like starting with a plug, but I didn't know that you have your own conference in Texas.
Correct. Yeah.
So it's a recruiting conference.
It's a recruiting conference. It's called
and the largest recruiting conference in Texas.
Largest recruiting conference in Texas. Longest running recruiting conference in Texas.
Since when?
This is our 10-year anniversary.
Wow. That's funny because I helped start Recruit DC,
Yep.
and it's our 10th year anniversary.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That did happen about the same time. So our conference is the TalentNet Conference. You can get details at talentnetlive.com.
Our conference is bigger.
Well, depends on the year. So we always host at an employer's headquarters.
Uh-huh.
And depending on the size of the room, that's how big our conference is.
Yeah, right.
So when we were at Capital One, we had, close to 300 people. And when we're at Whole Foods headquarters in Austin for our spring event, we can only fit about 175. So
how can people find out about it?
talentnetlive.com.
Cool.
Our next event is at Toyota's headquarters in Plano, Texas on December 6th. And we'll have between 300 and 400 people at that.
That's a day, one day. Huh?
That's a one-day thing.
Cool.
25 speakers. And all of the original TalentNet folks from year one when we hosted at PepsiCo's Frito-Lay headquarters will be back for this event. So Chris Hoyt's going to be there, and Jim Schneider, and all the people that helped me organize this originally. We started a committee just like everybody else, but TalentNet started as the first ever Twitter chat for recruiters. So this is 2007, 2008. We had a regular Twitter chat that was almost like a radio talk show because everyone would call in between 8 and 9 on Wednesdays every week. And that was between 8 and 9 Central Time, PM. And everyone would have their cocktails and would tweet about what they're drinking. Jerry from the Recruiting Animal Show would tweet out a Pandora playlist so we could all listen to the same music at the same time.
That's funny.
Bill Borman would always be on, and it's 1 o'clock in the morning for him. And he built a big sort of global audience of his friends who would also chime in. And so the TalentNet Twitter chat then became a podcast, and then it also became a conference. So in 2009, no one had budget to go to an ERE or an HR tech, and people were complaining on the chat, like, I wish I had money for this. And somebody said, look, you've got all these people in Dallas, why don't you just make your own?
There was something in the water because I had been going to ERE like in 07, 08. When I came back, I connected with Ben.
Got
Ben Gotkin.
Yeah.
And I said, Ben, hey, we should have something here in DC because we had nothing in DC, and
Right.
I'd been recruiting since the '90s. And he's like, yeah, people have been talking about it, and that's when we all kind of started.
Yeah.
And we had we had like I think over 500 people or close to 500 people,
So
which was a lot.
But
wait, I want to talk about, because we don't have a lot of time, but I want to talk about.
Well, I was going to say my experience at Recruit DC when I met you
Yeah.
was amazing. When I got to go speak at that.
Is that when we
a couple
first
years
met?
ago. Yeah.
No,
It was like 3 years ago, something like that.
I thought I met you someplace else.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah. It's always funny because we see each other like every few months,
Uh-huh.
and you never know like where
Right.
were we last.
Yeah.
And you're saying a lot of conferences are coming up.
Yeah.
How many conferences are there every week now for recruiting?
I mean, if you take in sort of local recruiting events, in like a city-wide district, there are probably at any given time in the United States between 17 and 30.
Wow. So, like, we talk about this, is like, how does somebody decide where they're going to go and make like a really good
Right.
business case for say, hey, here are the conferences I'm going to go to, and here's why.
Right. Programming is a lot of it, right? If you do good programming and you have sort of the right topical topics and interesting people to talk about it who aren't just, you have to have a good mix, right? You have to have practitioners, some consultants that are just good speakers, some vendors who are very knowledgeable, but practitioners will say they want all practitioners. But a lot of practitioners aren't good speakers. And so it's fun to have that case study revealed to an audience, but you should have someone on stage with that case study person who can actually make it interesting and make it fun. So programming is the main thing, and then community is second. So if the community around that event is good and kind of warm and fuzzy, that really gets talent acquisition leaders who have been to that conference in the past to send their new people and say, this is always innovative. I always get good tools from this. Go show me what's new.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, we're gonna both be at Social Recruiting Strategies Conference.
That's right.
In Philly this August.
Yep.
Which should be a lot of fun.
Yes. So August is going to be jam-packed for me.
Yeah.
So I'll be speaking at Social Recruiting Strategies Conference. I'm sure it's just about cool tools is what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And then I'm speaking at Video Marketing World Conference. I do a lot of video now,
Cool.
and have for a while. And then I'm also hosting another conference, not really a recruiting conference, but it is called the Talent Texas Digital Strategy Conference that month. And I've got Catherine Minshew from the Muse as one of my keynotes, and Neil Patel, noted SEO and Google expert, coming in, and that's a big-time deal for me.
I think now, because you look at a lot of the folks who speak, it's easy to figure out who's been speaking a lot and what they're speaking on, and that is definitely, I think, something people should check out before they go to a conference. Because even if it's a small conference, like if it's in your town, it could be incredibly valuable to you.
Yeah.
And also, if it's in your town, it's a day.
Yeah.
Usually the costs are low.
Right.
And how much time do you have to do all these conferences? I wanted to ask you about like what's been on your mind. There's a lot going on in recruiting. You've been in the field for a while, and the pace is changing. What is on your mind now, like top of mind?
So this is interesting. I've been working on a product. So I've recently shed my CMO title and have now dubbed myself head of recruiting innovation. So they just let me make up lofty titles so I can do some cool stuff. And this is at Allegis Global Solutions, right? So we're a big RPO company. And we've been working on a product because we also have the MSP side of that business.
Tell people what MSP means.
So that's a managed service provider. So when you have, in a large organization, you might have 500 staffing firms that do business with you. They all have to use a system called a VMS, a vendor management system, to put their candidates in and get their jobs from. And then that has to be sometimes managed by a management company, which is the MSP, and that's what we do. So we do that for hundreds of companies. And then we've got, between 30 and 40 Fortune 500 and Fortune 100 companies that we're also the completely outsourced recruiting team for, the RPO. And so big companies like Amex, MetLife, Staples, CVS.
Right. So instead of having recruiters,
that's right.
Just they'll bring in recruiters that are not full-time employees.
That's right. But we can flex when they need to flex.
Exactly.
That's the beauty of RPO.
And so what's the product?
So this product we've been working on actually aggregates the data from both a VMS and an ATS.
So a vendor management system and an applicant tracking system.
Exactly right. So the procurement side of the house, which would be that vendor management system, and the recruitment side of the house, and then a CRM, and then all of your other data points where you might have people to do different kinds of work can now be viewed in one screen, in one system. So
what's the value of that?
So it's like,
because I've never used that kind of outsourcing.
So this overlays, it doesn't replace any of those things. So it augments. But right now, to understand what your workforce would look like for a given piece of work. So say you've got to get
how many recruiters you'd hire.
These projects done.
Yeah.
Okay, this kind of work done over the next quarter.
Yeah.
Or over the next year. You'd have to go to 10 different systems to find all the people that you have access to in your organization, plus job boards, plus LinkedIn, et cetera, to find what your available talent pool is. This gives it to you all in one spot.
So it's for something at the C level where they can kind of do some projections, perhaps the CFO, the CEO, the C execs are kind of meeting and like, hey, let's look at quarter by quarter, what projects, and they can plug and play projects to kind of simulate what their costs would be
exactly,
and what their revenue would be.
Right.
Which is that's pretty cool.
Yeah. So
and it's built.
There's an aspect of it's built. Yes. It launches Monday.
Nice.
Yes. And so I've been active.
And Monday the what? Because when people listen to this.
Yes. Monday, June 24th.
2019.
Yeah.
That's
2019.
Cool.
Yes. And so, in our space, we've been talking about total talent for a long time. And that means all your available workers to get work done. And so that might be people from Upwork, gig economy workers just doing bits and pieces. That might be contractors, might be full-time employees. There's just no way to visualize that all in one place.
Sure.
And now there is. The cool thing about it is it also shows you in sort of a graphical representation where your talent sits, so you can see where your money should be spent. So if you're constantly hiring this kind of worker for these kinds of projects, you can plug that in. You can plug it in against a job, and the system will go find all the available people for that and stack rank them.
That's really interesting.
And show you where all your talent sits, so you know where to spend your money.
Right. So IBM, I did an interview with one of the head of talent at IBM, and they're doing something really cool. They look within their organization for folks to replace jobs they have open. So they'll find like a financial analyst, and they know that a financial analyst has 80% of what it takes to be a blockchain developer,
right,
and they need a blockchain developer. So they'll reach out to that person. Again, this is completely passive, right? And they'll get that person in that blockchain seat. That is incredibly powerful because if you think about, and I've said this a few times on my show, it really democratizes work. It says, if I know who Craig Fisher is and I know all of his abilities, and your abilities are just beyond kind of what you do, right? You have finance abilities, you have accounting abilities, you have certain skills. I can hire you for jobs using the skills that you have without the need for a company necessarily, right? And I wouldn't say gig economy because I hate that word, but that really you would be connected to the work. Right. And if the system knew that, you and I worked really well together on some other project, plus some other people, it might put us together on another project.
Yes. And so if you have a system where you can see project success rates, for instance, and see who was on that project, which is hard to do.
And that's kind of what you're doing.
Yeah, that's kind of what
so it's actually simulating it for future projections and looking backwards?
It can, because...
So it can look backwards and look at the data for a whole project.
In theory. And so if you try to look at an HR system or an ATS about a project, there's not much...
No.
You'd have to aggregate all that stuff. And so...
the bill rates aren't there.
That's right. The cost.
So that's what you've built, or...
It's built.
It's built.
Yeah. And
so the actual cost. So it's connected to... So you've like API'd all this data
Well,
together?
So there's MZ data attached to it. So, market costs and what, averages are in any given region for any given type of work. So we've got that sort of market data projection in it. And so you can see a full picture, which is nice. And the impetus for this was something similar to what you're talking about with IBM. One of our big customers is DXC Technology. So that's the company that was the merger of CSC buying HP Enterprise and building this massive tech company called DXC. And
What do they do? Because I've never heard of them.
they're a tech consulting firm. They they build things.
Midwest or?
They're global. I mean, they're really huge. One of the biggest tech companies in the world. But they had this whole thing where they had all these legacy workers, and they want them to do cloud work. And so they've got this upskilling engine, which is cool. And then they started looking at work differently, like how do we get bits and pieces of work done?
Yeah.
So they built a market where their own workers could bid on pieces of work to do over and above their existing jobs.
Oh, so they have to bid?
Yeah, they bid on it, and we helped them build it. And so that was really cool, but it still didn't give the full picture of the available
So it's
work.
pull, it's not push.
Correct.
They're waiting for people to come and bid.
Yeah. And they just let internal people know about it. So instead
So
of
doesn't that kind of drive the price down?
It does drive the price down.
I don't think that's good.
Yeah. It's
That's not good for the worker.
Well, I mean, it depends, because a lot of these people are already doing Upwork side jobs or Fiverr side jobs. So
Yeah, but they'll want the
built for it.
work, so they'll bid low
Yeah.
to get the work instead of not doing the work. And somebody else will bid even lower to get the work.
But they may outsource it to somebody else or their kid or whatever. I mean, these.
No, but I mean,
these are
still,
bits
the
of
point
jobs.
is like I'm just not a fan of things where wages go down,
Sure.
right? Because
But this
it
isn't their
doesn't work
wage.
well
This
for
is
the
over and
company.
above their job.
Gotcha.
These are just
Gotcha.
bits and pieces of work.
Bits and pieces. So
Yeah, and so we actually built this quantum work product. It's what it's called, quantum work, which debuts the 24th, to actually fill in the gaps there and help them visualize the whole thing.
that's interesting.
Yeah.
That's really interesting. Well, that's exciting. Congratulations.
Thanks.
How long did it take?
Well, we've been working on it for about 3 years, and this is sort of iteration number 2. We got to a certain point where we were using it with our MSP customers, and we've got an analytics engine called Acumen that helps them kind of see their numbers and their ROI and things like that. And then we took that a step further and said we could integrate ATS data with this, CRM, you name it.
Wow.
Anything, job boards, and see all your available talent in one place.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is really cool. I mean, people are getting much more flexible with opening up their data.
Right.
And using APIs.
Yeah.
And it's funny because I was talking to somebody recently and about how IT and the CFO really kind of want to lock down the one piece of software for the company.
Right.
Have you seen that?
I have, and I see it a lot. And there's 3
How do you get around that?
organizations. Well, so the one piece of software is going to be your sort of legacy system, unfortunately, right? And so it's going to be a Taleo or an SAP or an Oracle or a big piece of software that you're in a lifetime contract with, basically, and you can't get out of it, right? So I had to
Can't get out.
Yeah, I had to remove when I worked at CA Technologies, I had to remove an existing CRM and replace it with. We went with JobVite because we had SuccessFactors as our ATS, and they used to be part of the same organization, so we
Right.
figured the API would work, no problem. And SAP came to us at the last minute and said, oh, wait, you've got all these credits with us. You can have our CRM for free. So I had to implement 2 at once because of this legacy contract. And so there's no getting out of that, and we don't even try to get customers to do that. If they've got Workday, they've got Workday. That's what they do. So,
But I'm saying, like, so somebody got Workday for their HR, but it's not the best ATS. Or
Right.
It's not the best this, it's not the best that. But the folks at the top are saying, well, this is what you're going to use.
exactly.
It's an ATS.
Yeah.
You don't like it?
Right.
Too bad.
Yeah. And
So how do you overcome that?
you
What
don't-
argument do you make?
You don't.
You don't?
No. You augment it. And so now.
How do you augment it?
Well, with something like this quantum work product that overlays, it doesn't matter what system you have, right? And if you change systems, still doesn't matter. That data could be stored there while you're changing systems. And so,
Yeah, but see, they're not going to. So what I'm saying is, like, the CFO is going to say, look, we're spending $1,000 a year on this Workday for the company. I'm not going to spend, and it includes the ATS.
Right.
I'm not going to spend another $500 for this great ATS from this other company,
Right.
because you got one.
yeah.
So I don't care if they integrate.
Yeah. Well, and that's where your CRMs and your other products. So we built this sort of strategy called Intellect, which is your core system, which is ATS plus CRM, and imagine them as 2 spokes connected with a bridge. And then around those spokes, is plug and play technology, AI,
Sure,
assessment
no, I get
tools,
it,
whatever.
totally.
So you don't have to just rely on what's going on here. That is what it is.
Yeah.
And
But how do you get the
generally
CFOs to say, yeah, okay, sure? How do you say this isn't the
you
best
have
in
to have
class?
some very powerful talent acquisition leaders
right.
and a lot of good data.
Yeah.
CFOs love data. And so if you can say, look, we're actually wasting money because of our process and it takes
Right.
us too long to hire and it costs us too much
I'm
to
not picking
hire.
a Workday, but like
Yeah.
that may not be the best
Yeah, whatever.
ATS for your needs.
Yeah.
Because it's not maybe
Right.
the ATS.
Yeah, and getting an ATS changed is a long process. So when we sign on as an RPO for any given customer,
They don't make it easy.
No.
The ATS companies though also don't make it easy.
No, they don't want you to play with their APIs.
Well, not only that, but if you call up an ATS and say, hey, I'm really interested in your software, they sell you, but they don't help you sell your CFO and
Correct.
your CEO.
Right. Well, they'd like to.
Yeah, I've not seen that. I'd love that. I'd love it if I was like, because I've had that experience where it's
Yeah.
like, oh my God, I'm like pulling up all the information,
Right.
and the sales guy from the ATS is not really doing anything. And I was working at a global software company.
Right.
We didn't have an ATS, so I got one of the BAs, one of the business analysts,
Right.
to help me, and another guy to help me put together this really exhaustive, argument to
Right.
get it. And I was like, wow, why couldn't the vendor have this? If I said, here's my problem, put together a great business case. You pull the data together and then make my life easy.
Well, and that's what I actually had to do to get our CRM changed at the time.
Yeah, you had to make the case.
Yeah, and I'm good at that sort of analytics and documentation and ROI thing, and so I've seen it a lot because I've been a consultant in this space. I've been
Sure.
a talent acquisition leader. I've done all that.
But that'd be
stuff.
nice if the ATS companies, if the vendors did that.
Well, so what happens a lot of times is those vendors will call on people like me or Jim Schneider, who's now doing implementation and strategy, doing the architecture for an implementation of Avature. They'll call on guys like us to independently consult and have that executive level conversation. And there are, if you've got a lot
But it doesn't
of
always
historical
work
data,
that way, right? So like the director or the VP of talent acquisition
Right.
isn't going to pay for someone to come and have a conversation with their C-level suite.
No, a lot of
they're
times
being
it's-
counted on to like make the case.
a lot of times it's the
I'm thinking about for SMBs.
it's the ATS that will pay for that, and they hire the outside consultant so that it's
On
a
spec.
little
On spec.
so it's a little not it's more tech agnostic than having your own sales guy come.
I see. So if somebody's listening and they're a VP or they're director of TA,
Yeah.
they could maybe get their ATS to bring in a consultant
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
to help make the sale.
Yeah.
Because they see it, they see the value. But
Sure.
the truth is that, most recruiters aren't, not everyone's good at everything. And even if you're good at one thing, you're not going to be the best at everything.
Correct.
So it'd be good to bring in,
Yeah.
and your
there are a
CEO,
few
maybe
good
particular, like your
organizations.
C-level suite, maybe a particular kind of, they want the message in a certain way.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. They want the message in certain, and that certain way is, talk money to me, right?
Talk money to me, or like, how does it make us more competitive against these other companies?
Correct.
I just met this guy on the plane coming here. He works for a new market research firm,
Yeah.
and they do daily pulses for brands
Okay.
like Coca-Cola and Pepsi, and they'll share some of that data within that group.
Yeah.
So Coke can see how well Pepsi's doing, and vice versa, on how consumers feel about their brand.
So they build a consortium and everybody buys in.
Yeah.
It's a brilliant model.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it becomes competitive. So now everyone's kind of racing to the top.
Right.
Because I see how well they're doing. Well, I'll make my numbers better.
It's the career crossroads model.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which
Yeah.
I love.
So Career Crossroads, Jerry Crispin,
fan.
he does amazing stuff. I'm sure everyone who's listening knows Jerry.
Everyone knows Jerry.
Yeah.
So, the other fun thing that I've been doing, Allegis asked me to build a sort of separate but attached thought leadership platform. And
What does that mean?
well, so we've got our, because I was head of corporate marketing for a couple of years there, I got to rebuild our website and build a new blog out that was, more modern and more topical and consumer grade content, that sort of thing. Redo our content strategy, and I hired Matt Charney to help me do some of that. And so Matt and I have had, some fun, but he doesn't get to be as edgy as he likes to be with the attached corporate blog.
Matt's edgy.
Yeah, he's a little edgy. And so they asked me to build something that is not so attached to Allegis that we could kind of do our own thing on. And Matt and I have done this stuff off and on together for years. He used to produce my TalentNet podcast, and we've done work together for a long time. So we've got this thing called Inside Talent, and you can get there at insidetalent.org. And it's not salesy, right? Because we're not pushing, RPO or MSP type stuff to our customers and things. Here are 5 tools that we've seen in the last 2 weeks at different conferences that we think are really hot. And maybe it's a podcast conversation with 3 of the CEOs of those tech companies. And
so you're curating information?
Absolutely. And
so you're creating from wherever you find it?
Well, so Matt and I are at, between us.
You're at all the conferences.
100 conferences a year, right?
Yeah.
And so
there are like maybe 4 or 5 people that are at every single conference.
Yeah, I'm not at every single conference.
Yeah.
I mean, I've got kids, so I'm half the time at
yeah, but if it's not you, it's either Jerry or Matt or
Hoyt.
Yeah.
Matt and I, so now we kind of split things up because, there's 2 of us, and so we can each go, and we both speak at conferences. So we talk to a lot of vendors, and we're both also advisors to a lot of HR tech companies. So we just get to see a lot of stuff. And Allegis also is the main backer of Talent Tech Labs, one of 2 main backers. So we get that sort of startup feed as well. And so between all that, Matt and I just have access to
so
a lot of
people are going to be seeing a
information.
lot of cool stuff on this.
InsideTalent.org.
Yeah. Well, so as people are listening, I'm going to go take a quick look and tell everyone what we find. Okay. So Inside Talent, nice little, I like that. That's a little keyhole, like an old style keyhole. And we're looking at use technology to improve your recruitment marketing strategy.
Yeah.
The why of Gen Y, employer branding, tech recruiting. This looks good. Cool.
Yeah.
There's a little bit of branding.
Yes. A little advertising.
Yeah, this looks cool.
Yeah, it is. It's nice and clean. I built this from scratch.
How to hire developers in 2019.
With a WordPress template.
Managing candidate relationships. That's great. I like this hat. Somebody made a hat.
Yeah.
It's a red hat. It says, make recruiting great again.
Right. That's right up your alley.
That's funny. That's funny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of good information there already. We pre-populated it with a lot of stuff.
Awesome. So how can folks find you if they want to reach out?
So craigfisher.info is my website. On LinkedIn, I'm probably the easiest Craig Fisher on the planet to find because I do that on purpose. I've got good SEO strategy there. And you can kind of Google me and find me. But I'm Fish Dogs on Twitter and Instagram.
Cool.
And I'd love to be your friend.
Awesome. So connect with Craig. Check out his website, this new thing called InsideTalent.org.
Yep.
It looks really cool, and it's got some video, and there's some audio, and you can sign up for the email. So it looks like it's a pretty solid information stream.
Absolutely.
Thanks so much for being on the show, Craig. And we'll see you here on the next episode of the Lauren Epstein Show. I'm your host, Lauren Epstein, and also come to Social Recruiting Strategies Conference.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we'll be doing some shows from there.
Yeah.
Take care. If you want to sell more to HR and TA professionals, we can help you bring your brand into the ears of over 100,000 decision makers around the world. To advertise on this and other shows, contact us at lauren@laurenepstein.com. I'm excited about attending my first Social Recruiting Strategies Conference in the city of brotherly love, Philadelphia, this August 6th, 7th, and 8th. Over 3 days, you and I will be immersed in interactive learning experiences that'll teach us today's most effective recruiting strategies and techniques. The world's best recruiting experts are coming from CVS, Siemens, and AMC networks, amongst others. Don't miss out on the fun and learning. Register today at socialrecruitingstrategies.com.